We're given a cylinder with random measurements and we're asked to solve various things about it. And so we know the first question asks for what is the volume. Well, we know the volume is base times height for any volume for any shape. And well, the base, since it's a cylinder, well, that's the area of a circle. That's pi r squared. And then we're going to multiply that by the height. And to figure this out, I'm going to type this into my calculator exactly as it is. And so I'm going to type in parentheses pi r. Well, the radius is half the diameter, so that's 2 squared times the height, which is 8. You get 32 pi, but it tells you to round to the nearest 10, not the nearest pi. So I'm going to convert it by hitting this arrow right here. And that converts it to 100.53. So this equals 100.53. But it says round in the nearest 10, which means we'll round down to 100. And don't forget to round correctly or else you'll lose a point. And don't forget to use your right units or you'll lose a point. And the unit for volume is cubed. In this case, since we're using inches, it's inches cubed. The next question gives us density and asks for weight again. So just like before, I'm going to make my little triangle and I'm going to put M on top. And this time again, we're given volume and we're given density and asks for mass. Well, mass is still density times volume. And so I'll plug it in. I'll say 100 times my volume of 0.05. And again, I'll just type this into my calculator. So we'll say 100 times 0.05. We get 5. So it equals 5 pounds. And if you look, we don't have to round because we were already given to the whole number. The only thing we have to remember is our units, or else we'll lose a point. So the next question asks, what's the surface area? Well, the surface area, the formula for that is 2 pi r times height plus 2 pi r squared. And again, to figure this out, I'm just going to plug it into my handy dandy calculator. And so I'll literally write it in as it is, 2 pi r. Well, the radius hasn't changed, it's still 2. And then multiply that by our height, which is 8. And then I'll add that to 2 pi r. R is still 2 squared. And then again, we don't care about 40 pi. It says round to the nearest whole number, so I'm going to convert it. And so we get 125.7, which rounds up to 126. And it's a surface area, so it's inches squared. The next question asks, if a pint of paint covers 100 inches squares, how many pints are needed to cover 50 cylinders? Okay, well, one cylinder was 126, so 2 would be double that, and 3 would be triple that. So if we want to know 50, we would take 126 and multiply by 50, and we get 50 cylinders. That's an area, or surface area, total surface area of 6,300. And 1 pint will cover, what, 100? So therefore, 2 pints will cover 200. And again, I only write this out to make sure that my answer makes sense in the end, make sure it matches the pattern that I've created. Because I think I'm going to divide by 100 to figure it out. And if I divide by 100, I will get 63 cylinders. And we don't really have to round this because it's an exact answer, which is pretty nice. Don't forget your units or you will lose a point. And the last question asks, you are going to ship 50 cylinders and it costs $2.50 per pound to ship. How much will it cost to ship all the cylinders? So $2.50 per pound. So that means it would cost $5 for 2 pounds. $10 for 4 pounds. And again, I only do this to make sure that my answer makes sense in the end. I want to make sure it follows this pattern. So I have 50 cylinders. And we found out earlier, each one weighs about 5 pounds. So I want to multiply this by 5. And we'll type that into our calculator. We get 50 times 5. And we get a total weight of 250 pounds. Well, to solve for this, I want to divide this by 250 per pound. So I type in divided by 250. And if we do it that way, we get $100. Well, if we look at our pattern here, we say $5 for 2 pounds and $10 for 4 pounds. We get our money should be over twice as much as our weight. And now we're getting a weight that's more than our money. So I know this isn't correct. So you can kind of see how I can kind of use this to figure out if my answer makes sense or not. So we know there's 250 pounds of material. What happens if we multiply by 5? Or I'm sorry, 2.5, because that's the amount of money, $2.50. Well, that makes more sense because it's 250 for every pound, so 250 pounds should also be the same amount of money. So we say 250 times 2.5. And what do we get? We get $625. So we get $625. And this number makes a lot more sense as compared to these original values that we wrote down to check our pattern.